Hare Krishna. What is? Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we'll continue to read our daily morning Bhagavatam verses. So that is after prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnava Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणि निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणि जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् शुश्रूषो श्रद्धदानस्य वासुदेव कथारुचि स्यान्महस्य वया विप्रा पुण्यतीर्थनिषेवनात् शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनात् हृदयन्तस्थो इह भद्राणि विदुनोति सहृसताम् अष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी तदा रजस्तमो भावा कामलोभादयश्चै चेतैतैरनाविद्धं सितं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्नमनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगता भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते विद्यते हृदयाग्रन्थिश्छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशया क्षीयन्ते शास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनेश्वरे. Thank you, devotees, once again for joining this morning Bhagavatam reading. We'll continue to read our third canto, chapter 13, the appearance of Lord Varaha, verse 48. Share my screen. एवमेतं हरिमेधशो हरे कथां सुभद्रं कथनीय मायिना शृण्विता भक्त्या श्रवयेत ओषतिं जनार्दनो अस्याशु हृदि प्रसीदति एवमेतं हरिमेधशो हरे कथां सुभद्रं कथनीय मायिना शृण्विता भक्त्या श्रवयेत ओषतिं जनार्दनो अस्यशु हृदि प्रसीदति. Word word meaning? Yaha, one who, evam, thus, etam, this, harimedasa, who destroys the material existence of the devotee, hare, of the personality of Godhead, katam, narration, subhadram, auspicious, kataniya, worthy to narrate, mahina, of the merciful by his internal potency, srinvita, hears, bhaktya, in devotion, Sravayeta also allows others to hear, Va either, Ushatim very pleasing, Janardhana the Lord, Ashya is, Ashu, very soon. Hridi, within the heart. Prasidhati, becomes very pleased. Translation: if one hears and describes in a devotional service attitude this auspicious narration of the Lord Bore, which is worthy of description, the Lord, who is within the heart of everyone, is very pleased. So if one hears and describes in devotional service attitude this auspicious narration of Lord Bore, which is worthy of description, the Lord, who is within the heart of everyone, is very pleased. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In his various incarnations, the Lord appears, acts, and leaves behind him a narrative story which is as transcendental as he himself. Every one of us is fond of hearing some wonderful narration, but most stories are neither auspicious nor worth hearing because they are of the inferior quality of material nature. Every living entity is of superior quality, spirit, soul, and nothing material can be auspicious for him. Intelligent persons should therefore hear personally and cause others to hear the descriptive narrations of the Lord's activities, for that will destroy the pangs of material existence. Intelligent persons should therefore hear personally and cause others to hear the descriptive narrations of the Lord's activities, for that will destroy the pangs of material existence. Out of his causeless mercy only, the Lord comes to this earth and leaves behind his merciful activities so that the devotees may derive transcendental benefit. So, Hare Krishna again. So this is one of the beautiful verses in this series. So so far we had the Lord Bore's incarnation, right? In a couple of Manus. So the Lord came as Varaha, and then what pastimes he did. So what happens if one hears these pastimes in a devotional way, right? So a lot of times. Whatever forms the Lord takes, we have been hearing either Matsya or Kurma or Varaha, Narasimha. There are different lower kind of animal things, right? If they are not really great in the material sense, but when the Lord accepts and takes those forms, they are very beautiful, and they don't like any other forms, right? They do very wonderful activities. Like in this case, Varaha was lifting the earth, right? So not an ordinary boar can do that. So that in his tasks. So it was so easy for him. So, but it's not so great for him, right? As Sages was telling, because he does so much more, right? He's creating the universes. Lifting earth for him is nothing, right? So that's what the Sages were saying the earlier verses. So how and it says that these are all transcendental, right? So whatever the descriptions of the Lord's activities, they're all transcendental because we read in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Janma karma chame divyam yavam yo veti tatvata." Right? So whatever is appearance and activities, both are transcendental. If one knows those things, so tyaktva deham punarjanma. There is no birth after leaving this body, right? So they will go back to him, right? They will attain me. That's what Krishna says. They will attain my abode. So that is the benefit of hearing the transcendental descriptions or transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So so many of us might have heard the stories when we were small children. Maybe in some cases, the devotees are very fortunate; they get to hear from the devotees. But in many cases, it so happens that maybe especially the people who are born in India, right? They don't have, if they don't have a devotee family from childhood, so, but still, we might have heard these stories from the scriptures, either Ramayana or Mahabharata or other Puranas. They're very nice. Even in school, right, we studied those some of these pastimes, but they're great from that perspective. But we never. It doesn't give the uh, feel of that. Okay, this really happened, right? Because it is very unimaginable for a person to think about somebody lifting earth with tusks with our limited intelligence, right? It's not possible. Or creating the universes coming out of the pores of the Mahavishnu, right? Nobody nobody can imagine those things. So it's very difficult for us to put into our material brain. And then also we hear from people who have that kind of intelligence or that kind of experience, right? So they also did not hear. So I mean, it's not going to be having so much impact, though it is very nice, and we learn a lot of things, and it gives a lot of interest in. Maybe some devotees are fortunate; they get to know more and more, and they get in that way get become closer to the Lord and become devotees and meet devotees and all. So but the I mean, and also like many places it says, I mean, we use it to type in YouTube, right? So Narsingadev pastime, I mean, to show, I mean, when Anirudh was small, we used it to, I was just trying something, right? It says, again, it says Indian mythology or the Hindu mythology. So they gives the whole story, but then again it says, so it is a mythology or it really not happened, right? So but by hearing from Srila Prabhupada, anybody who reads Prabhupada books or hears from in the disciplic succession, right? So it's very conviction. I mean, the Prabhupada speaks in his purports. Any page we can open, any topic it could be, talks about very in a conviction, right? Supreme Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, right? So I mean, it's not that something is believing, right? It's not a belief. It's not a belief. Belief means it may be true or it may not be true, but I mean the conviction with which so a pure devotee speaks or Prabhupada gives in his purports, right? So I mean, it's very I mean, one doesn't think that it is a mythology, right? One will develop faith, right? The faith will be enhanced, that faith will be developed. I mean, Prabhupada by, so I mean, that is the reason Prabhupada has so graciously gave this Bhaktivedanta purports, right? So for us to understand that what the Supreme Lord can do, how I mean, to develop our conviction or to improve our faith, right? Enhance our faith. And also when we hear this, I mean, the pastime might look like it is the same story, right? I mean, so same Dhruva Maharaj, same Prahlad Maharaj, but when we hear from, even the speaker is very professional, I mean, it's very attractive and enchanting when we are hearing from somebody, right, who is professional. But if they are not a devotee, our faith will not increase, right? So I mean, it's not that the how sweetly or how uh, captivating way the other person is speaking, but with the conviction with which the person is speaking, and the audience will get to know, oh yeah, this is real, right? So I mean, we hear so many of Prabhupada followers also, right? So I mean, how, I mean, the same story it looks like. Of course, we know that, okay, all these pastimes, but then when we hear those, our faith will surely will enhance, right? It's maybe same pastime of Prahlad Maharaj, same pastime of Dhruva Maharaj, but when we hear from a pure devotee, our faith will enhance, and we become closer to the Lord, right? But when we are hearing from a professional speaker, I mean, it may be good at that moment, but then again, I mean, it's not going to bring any purity within us, right? So I mean, sometimes actually by hearing these things, right, saying that okay, it is a mythology at the end somewhere, so our faith will be disturbed, or I mean, will it may reduce also, right? It will be very difficult for us to I mean, it'll shackle our faith by hearing from a non-devotee, right? Some of these things. So that is the reason actually Lord Chaitanya and Mahaprabhu, I mean, very strictly warned us not to hear from even the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? If we are hearing from a professional speaker, we have the Prabhupada nice dhun, right? So there he talks about one should avoid hearing Mahamantra even from a person who is, I mean, even if it is a Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one should not hear from a professional or Mayavadis, because it's not going to bring any good to us, right? So I mean, though it's a Mahamantra, it's like a milk touched with a snake poison, right? It becomes, so it is not going to be not going to bring any benefit to us. So I mean, that's why we, I mean, we have limited time, and within that time we don't, instead of hearing from somebody, right, who's a professional, we should hear from a pure devotee, right? It is going to enhance our faith within that time. So I was just thinking also, I mean, the practice, I mean, hearing from a I mean, how much practice that the devotee is putting, what he is speaking, right? It's going to give that much realization to the hearer as well. So that is the difference between if I say something or if a pure devotee says something, right? There is a difference, because the conviction with which the pure devotee speaks is going to be a lot of benefit for the hearer. I mean, I can say, I mean, it's the same message, But again, it is getting into little deeper thing, right? It is going to have more impact. So we know this Gandhi story, right? So Gandhi is a great man. If somebody says, maybe people may hear, right? But when if he doesn't follow something, and if he says, it will not have that impact. We heard this story of somebody approaching him, saying that, oh yeah, my son is eating a lot of sweets, right? So can you please tell him not to eat sweets? So then he says, please come after, say, I think 20 days or whatever it is. Right? Then again, the mother comes after those 20 days or so. And that time, again, she says, same thing, my son is eating. Can you please tell him some not to eat? Right? Too many sweets he is eating. So Gandhi says, don't eat sweets. Right? The simple message is, I mean, it's not good for your health, and don't eat too many sweets. And then boy says, okay. And then the mothers ask, oh, what it takes, I mean, why it took so many days for you to tell the simple message? You could have told me last time itself, right? It's a simple message, don't eat sweets. But if you would have told, I mean, those 20 days ago, it would not have had that impact on that boy, right? Because Gandhi himself was not practicing. He himself was eating sweets. So he stopped after, I mean, it took time for him to stop eating sweets, and then he was able to tell, and then it will have that impact. So, I mean, yeah, that's why when a pure devotee speaks, I mean, it's going to have a lot of impact on us. So that's why we should take all our opportunities, whatever we get. So especially when a pure devotee he visits us, or I mean come to us, because of Prabhupada's mercy, is sending all of his I mean followers to all the nooks and corners of the world, right? So we don't need to go anywhere in the world. So they come to us. So to give the message. So I mean to bring the to get us out of this material bondage. That's what here it says. So when we hears these pastimes, it will help us to free of the material bondage, right? Destroy the material existence. Says that for that one who for that will destroy the pangs of material existence. So we are able to hear these pastimes from a pure devotees. So that will help us to come out of this material existence. So whenever we get a chance, so we should take that as an opportunity, and hear from them. Though it may look like the same pastime as I was saying, right? It's same Dhruva Maharaj, same Prahlad Maharaj. But I mean, I was hearing, I mean, many of the devotees knows these pastimes, but when, I mean, they share during the prasadam time, yeah, we learn a lot of things. It's not just the message itself, but the kind of realization that brings us is going to be uh, um, very nice. It may be a small one, but the small one itself is a big one, right? I mean, it's not going to be, seed is going to be always so small. The faith can be very small, but it can grow as a big trees, right? So even like when Prabhupada came to West, right? So I mean, nobody can imagine when somebody says, "We are don't eat meat," right? No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication. I mean, it is impossible to imagine somebody who is addicted to those things, and giving them up if somebody comes and tells them. But we all know what happened, right? When Prabhupada I mean, because of the messages what he delivered, right? A pure devotional service through his lips, right? And lotus mouth, and the people got changed. People were able to easily give up these things, right? So bad things, because of, it's not, even in our case, right, following the rules and regulations is not easy. If we are not getting those from we are not promising them to a pure devotee, or it is not came to us through a pure devotee, right? Because it is very difficult to follow those rules and regulations, because of the um, uh, conviction, or because of the benediction of a pure devotee gives to us to follow those rules and regulations, we are able to follow them with much ease, right? So otherwise it is going to be a big challenge, right? It's like a burden. So I mean, it's all that is the reason we should take that opportunity, and then we that is the difference between hearing from a pure devotee or from a non devotee. That is from a of course we should hear from any devotee who is sincerely practicing. But I was just talking about pure devotee. What is, I mean, the sincerity or the conviction with which the speaker is speaking, right, with the message, that will have that impact. So that is the reason I was just distinguishing between the pure devotee and someone else. But even somebody else is also speaking with that conviction, we should take that message very seriously. So right. So And then, of course, the difference in between a pure devotee or Kanishta Adhikari is what? I mean, the faith, right? The faith is with which pure devotee speaks. Of course, that is the conviction is the only thing, or the faith is the only thing that changes between a Kanishta Adhikari or a Uttama Adhikari. So, if the faith is very strong, I mean, we should take that message as is, right? I mean, it will have the same impact as a pure devotee is speaking. So, so it brings all auspiciousness. So auspiciousness is one thing, it says here. So auspiciousness is one thing that could be a good omen or good fortune that is going to come to us. So Krishna says here in the earlier Bhagavad Gita verse, one will not take birth again in this material world. So that is the most, what do you call, a non-auspicious thing, right? Taking birth again in this material world. So if one can come out of that, that will be most auspicious thing, right? So what could be more auspicious than that thing, right? So how I mean, good fortune or good future that is going to come, how that could happen? Only through hearing these past tense of the Supreme Lord. So and the last sentence he says here, out of his causeless mercy only the Lord comes to this earth and leaves behind his merciful activities so that the devotees may derive the transcendental benefit. So I mean, he performs so many of these pastimes, and so that the devotees can discuss them and relish them, right? So people talk about a lot of great personalities, right? So I mean, if somebody does something great in this world, we all talk about it. I mean, somebody is very rich man, people know him, right? Somebody is very technocrat even in the current world, right? So people know. I mean, somebody like ChatGPT, right? So I mean, everybody talks about it. Something great that comes out, right? What about the Lord? So he does so many things. I mean, even in this case, past time, he came through the nostrils of Brahma, right? And became suddenly so big, and then he was roaring like mountains, right? So that's what it says. And then he was lifting the earth from the ocean. So what great can anybody do, right? I mean, of course, in the Krishna's case, he lifted the Govardhana. I mean, he did so many other great things, right? So I mean, what great things can anybody do? So I mean, that is the reason Krishna performs these wonderful activities so that people, devotees, can relish them and discuss them and then get purified and come out of this existence. Yeah, one should hear from them a pure devotee those pastimes. So we have 4 minutes, devotees. Please share if you have anything are correct. So thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Laxmikanta, Prabhuji, please
Hare
accept
Krishna.
my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri
Please,
Gauranga.
please accept humble Salva Vishnu Prabhupada. Yes, ma'am.
Such a wonderful, sweet, and very impactful discussion. Our lecture you provided, Prabhuji. How important it is to hear from a pure devotee, and that does not mean that not you don't hear from even like a practicing sadhaka who's in a disciplic succession. So, very thank you for reiterating the importance of hearing from devotee who is practicing in the disciplic succession. Greatly appreciate this, Prabhuji, and lots of good examples you also gave about this. How Gandhiji also, he until he couldn't practice, he didn't tell the other person. So it's not being hypocrisy, right? That you are not doing it, but you're preaching that. But that doesn't mean again that we don't. Sometimes I know we've heard that we should still try to repeat the message, even though we don't have that realization yet. So that's also important at the same time. So thank you so much for bringing such wonderful discussion and points. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you so
Krishna.
much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Laxmikanta Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All questions to Prabhupada. Mega Mataji said so nicely. I also going to say same thing, Prabhu.
Hare
And
Krishna. Thank you.
it's for me. It's you put it so simple in a simple way. It's easy to understand. Yesterday also Vrindavan Prabhu class was also so nice. Very simple. Especially understanding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, and they are very difficult. Because Prabhupada also used so much for me, Prabhupada sometimes it's very difficult for me to understand. But both you and you did excellent, Prabhu. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept
Thank you for the very nice class, Prabhu. I just want to ask maybe an unrelated question, but it is about practicing and preaching. And then this is something I had a discussion with somebody about Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha came to, according to our, we have learned that he came to practice ahimsa, and he wanted to totally do away with this practice of offering to goddess Kali and eating meat that was, becoming very, very extreme practice. I mean, meat lovers used to do that. And then Lord Buddha came to teach ahimsa, and then teach the principle of ahimsa. But then I was having a discussion with somebody, and he's saying, okay, Lord Buddha accepted when he, after he had his enlightenment and he went about preaching Buddham Sharanam, Sangham Sharanam. So he was, going, preaching, teaching his principles and preaching. And then, but on his wanderings to teach this, he accepted whatever people gave him as, prasad, whatever they gave him. And he accepted meat also. Like he was like, whatever you give me, I would accept, that kind of thing. And in the end, he was given some half-cooked pork meat or something, and that is what caused his, death. And then I said, no, Lord Buddha should have stuck to his principle of non-violence, even to killing of animals at whatever level, and accepting meat as a edible thing. So he should not have gone and accepted meat from people. I was a little bit, I stuck to my argument. I was wondering what your thoughts are, Prabhu. I mean, Lord Buddha came to teach the principle of ahimsa. And what do you think about that one? I want to hear.
I don't know, Mataji, if that the whole past time of what happened in Lord Buddha's case, right? So I don't know. I mean, the background or really, I never heard about that. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So,
But whatever Lord does is, of course, he's so if you take from that perspective, it's okay. But yeah, I don't know if that is true or not true. So
yeah,
because I never heard that even any of our devotees saying that what Buddha did.
Yeah, I felt he should not have accepted this. It's a very disgusting.
If it is true, right? So we don't know if it is true or not.
Yeah, I believe it is true. It is about Buddha Charita. I mean, that's how it came. He came to the end of his life. Then I thought it is a very disgusting practice, accepting meat, and nowadays it is said that the Buddhist monks, they are eating meat
if you see all on East India, not East India, East Asia, all countries are mostly follow Buddhism, they say, right? But what is the kind of meat they eat, right? Anything and everything. Not everybody, but majority of the population. So
yeah, that sounded like calling yourself a monk and a teacher of religion, a representative of religion, and asking for meat. I thought that was a very disgusting practice, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
I don't know about Buddha specifically, Mataji, but yeah, if you see in the current world, people does things, right? Yeah. But the primary principle of Buddha came is for non-violence, but people doesn't follow non-violence.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu, for hearing me. Thank you.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. If anybody else has a comment.
Yeah. Gopal Prabhu, Vamshidhar. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
I have a comment, Mataji. That's a nice analogy. I was relating right away when you said that, when Prabhupada was, I think he's in Mumbai at the time. So somebody invited Prabhupada to their house. So Prabhupada disciples did not tell them how to cook, what not to cook. So the lady cooked so much prasadam, full of onion garlic.
Yeah, okay.
And Prabhupada did not speak a one word, and he honored everything.
Oh, okay.
So the devotees were scratching their head. How Prabhupada is eating this onion? So Prabhupada was asked later, why Prabhupada, it's breaking our principle. Prabhupada said, Mataji, this is what I heard. I did not read this. Maybe it is in
Leela Brata.
Leela Amrit. So Prabhupada says, I don't want to hurt the host because they prepared with so much love. But it is your mistake. You did not tell her before.
Okay.
So we don't know the complete context of why Lord Buddha did that. It could be something different, like Kannappa, right? Lord Shiva accepts the meat. I think at that stage, they don't make a distinction, but they teach us what to do, what not to do. That's what I was thinking.
Oh my goodness. But for me, it seemed very unacceptable that Lord Buddha did not ban this habit, and his followers are eating meat. I mean, that seemed very
that is like getting excuse and finding
very
some
unacceptable
material fault in some elevated person, and we follow that, right? That's
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
sure.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Shrikant Prabhu, I have a question.
Yes, we can ask. Devotees can answer. I can answer. Yeah, I will try. If I know.
No, it's okay. I'm just a thought. I was connecting when you were saying, "Hey, we should be hearing from a pure devotee." Completely accept that, and we follow that. I want to follow that. But I got just a thought. When in the previous canto, maybe this canto, we read when Maitri Muni was Vidura and Maitri Muni's conversation, right? In that, Prabhupada says, Maitri Muni is not a pure devotee. It clearly says in the Vidura is hearing from him, and it was told by Uddhava. Uddhava tells Maitreya. I think my apologies. Maybe it is Uddhava is telling either Vidura or Maitreya to go and hear from him. So a pure devotee, Uddhava, is telling to hear from Maitri Muni. And Maitri Muni is not a pure devotee, but how come there is so much in Bhagavatam between Vidura and Maitri Muni, the conversations, and we hear. So how do we understand this, Prabhuji? In one side, we say, yes, we should not hear it's a poison, milk touched by snake. There is no question in that. But on the contrary, we see this kind of minor contradictions, like how Mataji is asking, how do we understand and move forward?
Yeah. So my understanding, Prabhu, I mean, if we read these verses from the Bhagavatam, the conversation between Maitreya and Vidura, the way the Maitreya explains, I mean, we see these things, right? I mean, the sages or Maitreya Muni explaining to Vidura, it doesn't look like it is kind of a story, right? He's telling, right? So he's telling with what conviction he's telling, right? To Vidura. First thing, that is one thing it is coming to me. I mean, even I remember that something like that, right, in the earlier. But I think that was Prabhupada was comparing it. But I mean, Maitreya Muni, when he heard from Lord Krishna, when Krishna was informing or selling to Uddhava, right? That is when he hears, not at the last minute. I think before that in the Dwaraka, I guess, right? So, I mean, that time I mean, because when hearing from the Supreme Lord, so I mean, of course, he became pure, right? I'm sure. So that is when I think that is the reason even Uddhava directs him to hear from Maitreya. Maitreya is, I mean, he was not a pure devotee like earlier, but I think he became a pure devotee because he is hearing from, I mean, Krishna himself. right? So that's what I was thinking, Prabhu, maybe Inish, but Prabhupada was comparing there. I remember that's, I think, part where you are referring. But then if we see all the uh, verses or all the past tense, whatever he is telling in these cantos, right, 2 3 cantos, so I mean it's all like the message is very clear. I mean, if somebody reads that, they become pure. So how can we say that Maitreya is not a pure, right? I think Prabhupada is giving maybe before he hears from the Lord Krishna. I think that's what I remember, Prabhu. Maybe I think Kamshidhar Prabhu, if you want to, I don't know if you're in a position to speak. So Panduranga Prabhu, is that right? I mean, do you remember like that? Or do you remember Prabhupada is saying that?
Prabhu, there is no right or wrong. It's just a
No,
discussion.
no. You remember like that? I'm saying.
It
That's
was,
what.
Prabhupada mentions this after he connects with in the conversation of Uddhava and Maitreya and Vidura comes because this is after he met Krishna.
If I might speak, Prabhu,
Yes, Mother.
my thoughts are that when we talk about purity at that level in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we are talking about sages who are like 150% pure, but Maitreya Muni may be only 100%. That is my thought. I mean, that's my understanding of where Maitreya Muni starts. He may be only 100% pure. Others are 150%. That is my understanding. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. He's very, very, very elevated sage. I mean, very elevated. How he speaks.
Yeah.
And he has very in-depth devotion and whatnot.
And Vidura is hearing from him, right?
Vidura is
So,
hearing from him, yeah. So he is like only 100%, and the others maybe 150%. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
yes, Prabhu. Munshidhar Prabhu, you're right. Unmute.
Oh, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. I mean, the situation was when Maitreya Muni comes, Krishna actually puts him at a distance because he was in the Jnani platform. But the transformation happens is seeing the loving exchange between Uddhava and Krishna. That brings up all the transformation, and that brings actually glory to the bhakti and so on.
Yes. Yeah.
So moreover, Bhagavatam is Amala, so there is no non-pure devotion there.
Yeah, inside.
So Bhagavatam stands Amala Puran. So this.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. I think that good, Prabhu. Panduranga Prabhu.
Yeah, I have a different thought process.
Actually 8:11. So if anybody want to drop, yeah, they can drop. So sorry, holding. Yeah. So this Prabhu, go ahead.
No, my thought process is a little deviation from what Prabhu said. I do agree that's one way of looking things, because if Bhagavatam is Amala, then Bhagavad Saptava happens. It's still Bhagavatam, but we say it's not right to hear from them. So it's a conflicting information, right? So my thought process is a little different. How I was thinking while we are discussing is it depends on the person's receiving the how vulnerable that person is. The Bhagavatam is Amalam, doesn't matter who speaks, but the receiver, if he doesn't have the right attitude, right mentality, right mood, then that message can be messed up. So when we can hear, sorry.
No, go ahead, bro. Complete it. Yeah. Sorry.
So people like me, we are very neophyte. We don't have that kind of a consciousness to absorb, just take the only nectar like Hamsa. We take all the garbage too. So I think that's why seniors and Acharya says, don't hear from others who has garbage also included in that nectar, because we don't know how to extract the parts. It's not that Bhagavatam is wrong or a person speaking is wrong. It's about how you recept it. That's how, in the case of Uddhava, also, I'm sorry, Maitreya and Vidura is very expert in extracting what required. So even though Maitreya is speaking, it doesn't matter. He can extract the right thing. Because of our condition, probably that's why Prabhupada and everybody said, don't hear from others, because we don't have that abilities to extract or distinguish. That's my thought, Prabhuji, but I may be wrong. You know, I speculate a lot.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah. Anyway, so my understanding may be a little different, Prabhu. It is like both the sides, right? Of course, I mean, if somebody is hearing with a more elevated consciousness, they get a more clear message than somebody like me hearing from a pure devotee also. But I mean, it all depends on the even the speaker as well, right? So that is where the purity comes. So it's not just the hearer only, because the conviction with which they're speaking, right? So it's going to be different impact will be there on the hearer as well. So if I'm not pure, see, all of us, if we take Prabhu, I mean, right, none of us were there, maybe many of us were not there at that stage, right? I mean, maybe say before we practiced the devotional service or before we came in contact with Srila Prabhupada's teachings. But then as we are hearing from them, our increasing little bit, whatever that is happening to us, it's not just because of us only, right? It's because of the from the sources where we are hearing or getting these blessings, right? So they are having that impact on us to get that. I mean, even if it is a rock, solid rock, right? So it is going to get melted. I mean, maybe it takes time. So, but yeah, as you said, there is both sides. It is there, but on not just on the hearer side, but on the speaker side. Otherwise, what is the point in? I mean, we can hear from anybody. If I mean, they can get it. But I mean, if we talk about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Prabhupada, right? Somebody came in Mayavadi, gave a paper to him and talking about Krishna. They were just saying how many times they're using word Krishna, but they're not talking, looking at the message, what they're delivering it, right? What they're talking about it. So they just say, okay, yeah, he mentioned Krishna so many times, he's good. That is the only thing. But yeah, if we take it, that is at that level. But if we take it that one, because we get to get diverted. But it is actually, yeah. So it is. It is the pure devotee. I mean, it is the devotee with which conviction that is coming that message. Also here also there is something is there.
It's a combination. It's a
Yes.
combination, Prabhu. I think there is in the nectar of devotion.
But
It gives like
more
what's the
important is on
qualification of a
speaker,
hearer?
Prabhu. More importance is on the speaker. That's what I would feel, sir. Yeah, than the hearer. I mean, of course, here we cannot change the hearer, right? Where we are there, we are there. We cannot change ourselves overnight. But the speaker from whom
But
we can hear, that can
but
change.
if
Yes.
there is a
No
nice
problem.
audience, but if there is a nice audience, like how Pandurangopal Prabhu is really like churning out, you know, that's also one of the factor.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
good discussion.
Audience.
It's a combination of everything, right? Situation has to come. Person has to be
But
there.
but it's also said that nice enthusiastic the inquiries are churning like you, Prabhu. For sure, it's going to be wonderful because Krishna has
Yeah.
to come.
Yes. So I'll yeah. Based on the situation, each one gets inspired, right? So it all depends. At the end of the day, it's the Lord's mercy. Unless He thinks whatever effort we put is not going to work, He has to make a decision that okay, I want to give mercy. Otherwise, either devotee has to do that or Krishna has to do that. All we are trying to do is just to please them. So one day they will show mercy. Krishna show mercy. So we can get all these things in our hand. So it's all Lord's plan and mercy. How he orchestrates. Thank you, Prabhu, for a wonderful discussion. I need to drop.
Thank you so
I
much,
am
Prabhu, for
late.
bringing up this.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpatarubhishya Kripa Sindhubhyo cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.